The Department of Justice announces a grand jury to vote on indictments for Russiagate. And the state of Texas issues arrest warrants for House Democrats who fled to Illinois to break quorum. I'm Tony Kinnett, host of the Daily Signal's Tony Kinnett Cast, syndicated nationally at 7 p.m. Eastern. It is Tuesday, August 5th, 2025. This is the Daily Signal's top news in 10. After a series of document unsealings, declassifications, and internal investigation from CIA Director John Radcliffe, as well as Attorney General Pam Bondi, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, as well as a couple of releases from Senator Chuck Grassley's office, the Department of Justice has announced a grand jury, which is going to vote on indictments regarding the Russiagate scandal. Check it out.
Fox News can confirm that Attorney General Pam Bondi today signed an order directing an unnamed U.S. federal prosecutor to take evidence to a grand jury relating to an alleged conspiracy to tie then 2016 candidate Donald Trump to the country of Russia. Now, Fox News reviewed the one-page order just hours ago signed by the Attorney General. A source familiar with the probe confirms this as well, while a DOJ spokesperson declined to comment on this report of an investigation. Fox is told Attorney General Bondi is taking the referrals from Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, quote, very seriously. The spokesperson says that Bondi believes there is, quote, clear cause for deep concern, end quote, and a need for the next steps. Now, this move comes just a couple of weeks after the Director of National Intelligence, you see her right there, Tulsi Gabbard, sent a criminal referral to the Justice Department regarding what she says proves there was a conspiracy to undermine Trump's candidacy and later his first term in office. Now, to be clear today, there are no charges that have been filed, no indictments. This is incredibly early in the process. What we have here is taking evidence the Justice Department believes it has to a grand jury to secure an eventual indictment or indictments. We don't know exactly where the grand jury will meet. We don't know who will go before the grand jury, and that's by design, because grand juries determine if there's enough evidence to indict, and grand juries are secretive in the American legal system, so it's normal not to know all of the answers. Again, the DOJ declining on any comment regarding this investigation. But, well, big news, this was signed by the Attorney General Pam Bondi today to take this evidence of an alleged conspiracy to a grand jury with the hope to get an indictment or multiple indictments.
Speculation on movement regarding possible grand jury leading to indictments started to swirl on August 3rd when Mike Davis of the Article 3 Project posted, "Dear Lawfare Democrats, the team is finally in place. Attorney General Pam Bondi, DAG Todd Blanche, FBI Director Kash Patel, Civil Rights Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon, Washington, D.C. U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, and Southern District of Florida U.S. Attorney Jason Redding Quinones. Buckle up. Justice is coming. Nobody is above the law." He then posted yesterday afternoon, "Justice is coming, as promised. Covering up the conspiracy continues it. There is no statute of limitations problem," leading many to believe that it's likely Mike Davis might be the unnamed counsel that is currently working on this particular case. The mention of the Southern District of Florida U.S. Attorney Jason Redding Quinones' inclusion in these posts by Mike Davis brings an interesting facet to what may be a possible series of indictments, investigations, trial, and the whole nine yards. Because one of the primary concerns, if this was to be a case that was tried in Washington, D.C. with a local grand jury, might result in a series of decisions that would lean one way politically. Whereas in a different region of the country, that might not be the case. John Solomon of Just the News articulated this last night.
This is a major development. We told you last week that Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, had given permission for a strike force to begin. That's a very specific tool the Justice Department uses on major conspiracies. And we told you then we would know it was getting serious when the grand jury jumped into action. We now know that a grand jury will be impaneled. Most likely, my sources are telling me, it could be in Florida, where the raid of President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home happened. So that is the very latest.
From the legacy media side of things, this was covered about how you would expect. NBC's Monica Alba dishonestly characterized the situation as a distraction, said that Gabbard's claims were unsubstantiated. The documents themselves from the intelligence community under the Obama administration show that that claim is ridiculous. Then reemphasizes that there's zero evidence to back up the claims, which again is untrue, not necessarily the kind of political analysis you would expect from a White House correspondent. Says then that it's all politically motivated and that President Trump just wants to attack his political foes. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the key reasons why legacy media is struggling as much as it is.
A couple of weeks ago, Hallie, when really the headlines were dominated by the Jeffrey Epstein controversy, and then the president was sort of trying to change the topic very obviously and in many different venues, was trying to bring up these unsubstantiated claims about the role he argues former President Obama had in the 2016 election and trying to suppress some information that he says would have been damaging if it had come to light. And so then you had the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, come to the White House briefing room, come to the podium and try to share some of this alleged new evidence. Well, now you have the Attorney General saying that they're going to try to take that information, which, remember, they had announced a strike force to look into what they call this new evidence and try to evaluate it to see if there could be any potential criminal indictments that they would follow. And the thing that matters here is that this is basically a grand jury investigation that's being launched, but that will happen in secret. This is behind closed doors, and it's completely unclear whether it will yield anything new. It's unclear that we will ever learn anything new about it because it could be under seal, but it really does bear repeating. This is looking into something for which there is no evidence to back it up, and it's really, it seems, a politically motivated move to keep the focus on one of the president's clear political foes and talk about basically anything else.
Additionally, though perhaps not the leading headline, Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas also noted yesterday that the Office of the Special Counsel has opened an investigation into former Special Counsel Jack Smith's conduct during the 2024 election, in which Smith asserted that Trump needed to be charged as well as sentenced and all of the serious aspects of the trials scheduled before the presidential election, which might be considered a particularly political move. He says, "No one is above the law. I encourage the Office of Special Counsel to release as much information as possible to the public and to do so as quickly as possible." And in protest of Texas state legislature's redistricting efforts, the Texas House Democrats, 57 of them to be exact, fled for the state of Illinois, many on an expensive private jet costing $15,000 per hour, making that a $35,000 trip, which Governor Greg Abbott didn't take too kindly, referencing possible charges for bribery. Check it out.
So very simply, it would be bribery if any lawmaker took money to perform or to refuse to perform an act in the legislature. And the reports are these legislators have been both, they sought money and they offered money to skip the vote, to leave the legislature, to take a legislative act. That would be bribery. And so the facts will have to come out. But I think based upon comments made by legislators themselves, they face a possibility of facing bribery charges, which is a second-degree felony in the state of Texas. There's one way to cure that, and that is if they get back to the state of Texas and make quorum today at a hearing that we have at 3 o'clock, they can cure themselves of any quid pro quo that would subject them to potential bribery charges.
The House Democrats violated Texas law by leaving without dismissal, breaking quorum so that the Texas state legislature couldn't continue operating to pass laws, regulations, rescissions, etc., the kind of things that any state legislative branch of government is supposed to carry out when in session. You can't just suggest that you are going to hold up everything by not showing up to vote. That's not how being a part of elected legislature works. Texas House Representative Gene Wu, a Democrat, did suggest that when Governor Abbott said that the House Democrats needed to return for a vote by 3 p.m. yesterday, quote, "come and take it," end quote. Check it out.
And to Governor Abbott, frankly, he doesn't know how to read Attorney General's opinions because he used to be Attorney General. And frankly, Democrats say, come and take it.
And some salty language and legal analysis from one Texas House Democrat who says she is a lawyer about whether or not there's anything in the Texas Penal Code that might suggest a Class 2 felony.
I'm a lawyer. A part of my practice is criminal defense work. There is no felony in the Texas Penal Code for what he says. So respectfully, he's making up some okay? He's trying to get sound bites, and he has no legal mechanism. And if he did, subpoenas from Texas don't work in New York. So he gonna come get us how? Subpoenas in Texas don't work in Chicago. He's gonna come get us how? So let me be clear. He's putting up smoke and mirrors. And I'm hopeful that the media doesn't follow that.
We did the deep digging to discover if bribery was in fact a Class 2 felony in the state of Texas, and what do you know? It's a Class 2 felony in the state of Texas. The Texas House passed the motion to issue arrest warrants for the House Democrats via the Sergeant at Arms.
Being 85 ayes in 6 days, the motion prevails. The Sergeant at Arms and any officers appointed by her are directed to send for all absentees whose attendance is not excused for the purposes of securing and maintaining their attendance under warrant of arrest if necessary until further order of the House.
Now, there is a ton of other news that broke yesterday, from Israel to Russia to China possibly making a couple of moves toward Taiwan, plus developing situations in Cincinnati, San Francisco, Los Angeles. But we are unable to get into all of those for the top news in 10. So for a couple of updates on those particular stories, you can either go to last night's episode of the Tony Kinnett Cast for some of that breaking information, or head down to the description and make sure you're subscribed to the Tony Kinnett Cast so you can join us this evening at 7 p.m. Eastern, where we'll give you some of the updates on those stories, these stories, and I'm sure the many stories full of news and nonsense that are destined to break today. I'm Tony Kinnett, and this has been the Daily Signal's Top News in 10. Take care.